Welcome to memoQ Talks, where we talk to industry leaders about their experiences, lessons learned, and what works best across all areas of localization. Now here's your host.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the newest episode of memoQ Talks. This episode is very special because I am honored to have as guest Christos Ellinides. I really hope that I didn't butcher your name, who is the Director-General of the Directorate-General of Translation for the European Commission, or DGT in short. I don't think I exaggerate much when I say the DGT is the single most important translation organization in the world. But before we continue, please do not forget to like this video, if you do, and subscribe to the memoQ Talks channel. Also, check out the podcast recordings on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So welcome, Christos, to memoQ Talks. I probably already put you on the spot by saying that the DGT is the most important translation organization in the world. I'd like us to explain and show this to viewers who are watching from outside Europe. So can you tell us what the DGT is and why it is very important and how this indicates that the EU is a very unique and special community?
Well, first, let me thank you, Balázs, for inviting me to this chat. And I think, and I'm looking forward to this conversation we're about to have. Yeah, I mean, DGT is the European Commission's translation service and is probably the largest institutional language service in the world. And I say language service because we do not only provide translation services, but also other services like editing and AI-based multilingual services, as you probably know. We have about 2,000 staff, and they are based mainly in Brussels and in Luxembourg. And we have an annual output of around 2.5 million pages, which positions us in the way you have described. Our job is to make sure that EU legislation and policies that affect people's daily lives are available in all the 24 official languages of the European Union. Translation is an essential part of the decision-making process in the EU. Actually, no legislation can be adopted unless it is translated. So therefore, it positions translation in a very critical position. To adopt a piece of legislation or any policy, the Commission must publish all 24 official language versions. And we need to make sure that all language versions convey the same meaning so that they can be interpreted and applied in a uniform way and produce the same legal effect throughout Europe. It's no exaggeration to say that without DGT delivering translations, there is no EU decision-making. But I also wanted to add that this is not just simply a legal obligation. We also want to facilitate effective communication with all European citizens by removing any language barriers. And of course, by removing these barriers, we will also be able to confront better what we are experiencing also through the process that you probably have been observing in establishing the new Commission, which, by the way, I'm happy to announce that yesterday the European Parliament endorsed the new college. So as of 1st of December, we will begin with the new Commission in place. But still, we are there to bring down these barriers and the extreme nationalism and increasing spread of populism that we see in certain areas of Europe. So communication is more important than ever because we have reached a point where citizens are more critical of what we do in the European Union. The term Euroscepticism is still present. Deliberate, malevolent information, manipulation of truths is clear and present, and it is a threat to our democratic process. And we must act to identify, challenge, and refute all of these material instances that we have of misinformation. And now, my key statement is that we need to confront them promptly, but very important, in all languages. And that is very important. And our job is to also ensure that we are not only transmitting in a one-way direction, but we also ensure that people's voices are heard and that they get the chance to contribute to this decision-making process that we have, that they can understand and trust the information we provide. That is why all the work we do here in DGT is so important. And that is why I think your introduction was more leading into the importance of translation in the decision-making process of the European Union.
Thank you very much. And I must say I couldn't agree more. And presenting communication as one of the most powerful means of combating misinformation and mitigating conflicts is really a very powerful message. Thank you for that. But for that, you definitely need more than just a blown up language service provider, which the DGT is not, because it also has its own technology research, and it is also in the forefront of innovation in translation and language operations in every way. What are the initiatives at the DGT that you are the proudest of?
Well, let me get to the initiatives in a second. But I think if I speak of what I'm really proud of here in this service, is my staff, DGT staff, their skills, their expertise, their resilience, and their commitment. Without our translators, linguist assistants, now technologists, and several other supporting functions that we have, there would be a lot less opportunity to do our research and be innovative, as you have implied. For me, staff remains the number one asset in DGT. Now, coming to answering your question on some of the initiatives, some of the recent initiatives, I may say. Well, difficult for me to say what I am most proud of, but I am certainly very proud of the role DGT is playing in the design and deployment of AI-based multilingual services in the Commission, but also beyond. Since 2023, we are leading an AI network within the institutions. This network explores possibilities and concrete use cases for AI. This network started with 200 people a year and a half ago. It now has 4,000 colleagues as members. And colleagues from like I said, from the Commission, but also other EU institutions and agencies. And we have been doing some pioneering within codes, because I don't want to come out more assertive than I should. But I believe we have been doing some pioneering work in AI and linguistic data, the two go together, for quite some time now. Starting, of course, with machine translation. Let's not forget that machine translation is actually founded, is based on the high quality translations and the curated, the filtered, the cleansed linguistic data we have been producing for decades. Some of the explorations of our AI network have already turned into fully fledged services, all based on AI. Besides what we call e-translation, our machine translation, we have services that do a lot of content production and narrative, if you like, manipulation, all based on AI. So we have services like producing briefings, we call it debriefing, producing replies to communication, letters and whatnot, e-reply, summarization, we call it e-summary, anonymization, speech to text, and all of these services contribute, in my opinion, to enhance the operational efficiency throughout all of the departments of the Commission. But not only. You see, we have been working together with a partner DG in the Commission, DG for Communication and Technologies, DG Connect, to make all of these AI-based multilingual services available to the whole European Union and not just EU institutions. So we make them available to academia, meaning universities and students, NGOs, SMEs, and member state public administrations in all EU official language. So I'm really proud of the fact that DGT was the first commission department actually to explore possibilities of high performance computing. As we speak, we are experimenting and we are testing and training language models on the Leonardo supercomputer out of Bologna, Italy. We started experimenting using supercomputers in Luxembourg a year ago. The supercomputer there is codenamed memoQ, and we have seen very good results of our experimentation and tests. And therefore, we moved to an even more powerful computer, the one in Bologna I mentioned just now, to continue our work. Our next step is to develop what I call an institutional multilingual EU LLM, large language model, made in the EU, for the EU, compliant with EU legislation, meaning the EU AI Act. And this could have a major effect, again, in my opinion, on the design and implementation of new and advanced AI-based multilingual services. I also consider, but AI is the most recent and important thing that I believe we are doing. But I also consider very important the work we do in streamlining and automating our business processes and workflow. Let's not forget, we are still a service here, and our focus right now is to combine and integrate the different facets of our workflows and business processes in a single platform. Right now, we have a lot of applications working a little bit in a disintegrated manner. So what we have done is that we have launched an ambitious, I may say, multi-annual digital transformation project. We actually codenamed it eDGT. And this project will deliver an end-to-end technological platform that will cover all the tasks and steps that we have to go through from the moment we receive a request for a service to the moment we deliver that service to our clients. It will manage, in other words, the workflow for all the policy departments requesting our services, also our in-house staff, but at the same time, the freelance community with which we're working outside the Commission. So this is not just any IT project, but it is a fully fledged business transformation initiative. And this is also something that I am proud of.
Thank you very much. And you said many things that obviously the entire European community has reason to be proud of. And I'm also happy that you brought up the importance of well-curated data, because without high-quality data, there is no high-quality AI. And you also mentioned many connections of the DGT. And in the next question, I'd like to talk about one specific aspect here, is that this is something we haven't really mentioned so far, but this is being brought up in many conversations, conferences, events, and that's the role of the human actor in all the language processes, language operations. And still, the AI isn't acting alone. It isn't acting on our own accord. Any language operation that we see, any language service that we see is most of the time a combination of automated and human activities. So one of the things that I like saying, that no matter where AI progresses in the next years or decades, if you will, we will always need people who know how to translate. And because of this, connections to the world of education are also paramount for the entire European Commission, and especially the DGT. And there's this program called the European Masters of Translation, and DGT has a very close connection with this. And I would just like you to tell us about the EMT, the European Masters of Translation program, and other similar connections to the outside world that the DGT has. Anything that you would like to mention on top of the EMT? But the EMT is the most important part of my question.
Yeah. I mean, thank you for the question. You're absolutely right, Balázs, on what you said before about the importance of data. I'm not going to go back into that, but it is clear for me that we, all of us, will not have quality performance Gen AI systems if we don't pay attention to what I call the second most important asset in a language service, which is its data. And so if you don't have the right data, you will not get the right outcome. And that's where translators and all the rest of the functions that we have, terminologies and all the rest, come into the picture for making sure that the data is up to par with the technology, because technology moves fast, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we we maintain our linguistic data repositories also. So, but going back to the question that is also a very interesting one, I believe that for many we are a point of reference, as you more or less implied, in the world of translation and now the AI-based language services. We're certainly one of the largest employers in this domain. So we actually have a special interest to promote the development of the translation profession and also boost the status of language professions as attractive career choices, options. So we do so through a number of outreach projects targeting universities, the language industry that I may refer to also in a bit, translation professionals, schools, but also generally the public. The European Masters in Translation that you mentioned is one of those outreach activities that we have. It actually, it provides a quality label for university programs that lead to a master's degree in translation. We awarded as DGT to university programs that meet a set of professional standards, but equally important, address the demands of the market. These programs become members of the European Masters of Translation Network. We call it EMT Network in short. And actually, we recently renewed the composition and the mandate of this network. As it stands right now, and for the next 5 years, the network has 79 universities throughout Europe. And as members of, or in terms of programs, we are hosting a total of 81 master programs. The EMT members hold regular network meetings to share their best practices, cooperate on concrete projects, and the goal is to renovate the curricula and teaching methods to match what the industry requires. And that's why they need to cooperate closely, in my opinion, with the language industry to stay informed of the latest developments affecting translator training. And AI and tools is that one example, and the rest of the technology that we use in language services. But equally important is to make sure that the two, academia and language industry, work together in offering traineeship programs and also making sure that we get the essence of what the industry expects, and at the same time, universities prepare future colleagues in this industry to respond to the market needs. The main actually goal of the network is to improve the goal of training and give young language professionals better chances of finding work, of finding employment. The network actually developed a competence framework which sits at the core of the EMT. This competence framework defines the basic skills that students need to have so that they can enter the market fully equipped from the get-go. More and more universities use this framework as a model for designing their programs. And along the same lines, by the way, but now from an industry perspective, because you also asked me to talk about other connections. So from an industry perspective, we host a commission expert group. The language, we refer to it as the Language Industry Expert Group. It's in short is called LIND. It is the only expert group that we have officially registered in the commission related to language. And of course, Balázs, you know so much about it because in this elite group, you are one of its members. And so this LIND group includes influential language industry representatives like yourself that provide to DGT, expert opinions on different issues related to the language industry. I said it before and I will repeat it. I consider it essential that the two, industry and academia, are in close communication so that we do get graduates that are equipped as much as possible to respond to the needs of the industry. And I'm a strong believer in the coupling between these two, industry and academia. And then what I call the triangle of success is also adding us as public administration. So industry, academia, and public administration completing the triangle so that we can produce and we can employ useful graduates with useful skills to be able to deliver from day one. I am a big supporter of this, and I strongly encourage, I foster as much as possible a close cooperation between our expert group, as you know, LIND, and the EMP network. And I'm pushing more and more on that. One must deliver what the other needs. They must coexist. But let me also take the opportunity to briefly mention another activity, which I also consider equally important as our EMT network. We have a contest that we run every year. We call it Juvenes Translatores. The Juvenes Translatores is an EU-wide translation contest for 17-year-old secondary school students, and usually takes place every year in November. As we speak, it is taking place right now, so it's very topical. And the objective here is to start with the young people as soon as possible. So we have the EMT and the university dimension, but we're also addressing students in high school. And we want to inspire, we want to encourage young people to learn languages and also give them the perspective that there is a career possibility and a profession out there now. And it's not a single profession, I refer in plural professions because the language services now have a plurality of professions that they can offer, not just straight away translators only. But so like I said, as we speak, the contest is taking place and the dimensions are huge. We have around 3,000 high school students from more than 700 schools throughout the EU taking the contest as we speak right now. And the students must translate, and the numbers are huge, 3,000 teenagers, 700 schools. And that is our also contribution in what I believe encouraging language learning and the translation profession. And these students actually in this contest, if somebody asks, what they do is that they must translate a page of creative writing on a topical subject in relation to what is happening worldwide right now from any one of the 24 EU official languages into any of the other 23. And their efforts are evaluated by professional translators. We identify the best translation from each member state. And the reward is that 27 winning students, or 27 of them, one from each member state, we invite them to an award ceremony in Brussels. And also we facilitate, we pay also for their, for their teacher and their parents to accompany them. And that is a huge contribution from our part that I think it's paying very well. So we do start promoting languages and language professions from high school.
Thank you very much. Thank you also for the shout out. And I must say that working together with the European Commission on these initiatives is very close to my heart, and not because of the sense of community, but also because I have been active in educating translators since the early 2000s. So and also my company has widespread connections to more than 500 universities as we speak. So there are passions and priorities that we share here. But our allotted time is drawing to an end, and I still have two questions for you. When this episode is recorded, only a few weeks have passed since we had Translating Europe Forum 2024, which is probably the largest translation conference or language service conference in the world. Do you feel that this year's installment was different to the previous ones? What do you think made it stand out? If it was, I had this feeling. This is why I'm asking.
Yeah. I'm sorry if I am too wordy. Stop me, because there's so much we can talk about and share. But I will be shorter, please, so that we don't exceed too much.
Don't worry, I have time. So
okay. Look, so translating
Europe, and I like listening to you. Sorry.
Okay. Translating Europe Forum, in short, TEF, is probably our most renowned, the most recognized event that we have, and actually it's expanding every year, not only in the size of the audience, but also in content. Now, for those maybe that will be listening to this podcast, what is TEF? The objective of TEF is to facilitate, to stimulate dialogues and collaborative work between different stakeholders. I spoke about the stakeholders before, so all of those. Also, to offer networking opportunities for those that are here, but also online, and exchange good practices. What is equally important, and we had a bit of an emphasis since you asked me a little bit about this year's TEF, we also want to give a voice and an active role to young people, to young professionals who are about to enter the job market or who just started their career. So in this respect, this year's TEF paid a little bit more attention to this population. At the same time, this conference, as you know, is accompanied by about, at the same time or around that period, 40 different workshops that we are holding each year in different EU member states, targeting specialized audience within national but also cross-border translation community. And I think 2024 TEF was a big success, to the point that we had to start refusing registrations, as I said in my closing speech, and I was really not so happy about that. We will do better. I said it in my speech, in my closing speech. We will try to do better for TEF 2025. This year we had around 3,000 participants, 2,500 online at different instances, but also about 450 to 500 people here in person in Brussels. These events for me are always inspiring. And this year we went the extra mile, as you probably have seen because you were there, with a greater variety of format. So we didn't just go with the traditional keynote speeches, with the traditional panels. We introduced what we called TEF Talks, not TED Talks, but TEF Talks. We introduced also more interactivity. We had sessions which we labeled Ask the Expert. So there was more interaction between the audience and the person holding the stage, and with some really hands-on sessions that you also have seen, where actual speakers showed how to use AI in practice with a hands-on little bit of demonstration. So it's a most fascinating new element that we had, as I said, in this TEF, the online fair for newcomers to the industry, which was a big success. And many of you participated there to give your insights, your guidance, your wisdom as experts to these young people, to these newcomers in the industry. So that was another new flavor that we have added, because it's important to keep in mind that TEF, we try to cater for a very varied audience. Translation students, professors, freelancers, LSPs, technologists, experts that have been active in the industry for decades. So we're trying to put all of this together. And the feedback we got, by the way, Balázs, this year so far, it has been beyond any expectations that I had. Everybody is super excited about what we're doing together, all of us, and that keeps us also, gives us the momentum to continue along the same lines. Actually, we had participants from 100 countries. It was just not just within Europe, from Lesotho to Venezuela, from Vietnam to Brazil. Incredible presence. It was an inspiration. I say inspiration won the day, or should I say all 3 days of the conference.
Thank you also for this answer, and I can only confirm what you have just said about the success of this conference. What made it stand out for me was this wide variety and enthusiasm and motivation, a sense of togetherness, a sense of making progress together. That was one of the. It's obviously a not so very tangible thing to say, but it was also palpable. And the other, a little more concrete thing that made it stand out for me was that there was not the kind of sense of helplessness in the face of technology as we could feel in previous events. This was very motivated, very energized, and that pretty much applied to everyone. We have arrived to our last question to this in this conversation, and I'd like to ask you a bit, whatever you see fit to say to us, to tell us a bit about your personal journey. You started off as an IT engineer, as you said, and I did too. That much is common. But unlike me, you ended up at the helm of the most important language organization in the world. So how did this happen? Can you give us some highlights of the journey that you have had?
Well,
reading here.
It's always very difficult to speak about oneself. What I can tell you is that, we are from the same background. I'm an engineer by training. I mean, my academic qualifications, I did one of the early degrees actually in the United States in the late 80s. There wasn't a single computer degree at that time, but it was just the introduction. In the States, they were offering a minor in computing. So I did actually a business degree and a minor in computing in those days in the States, and then I continued in the University of London to do a more of a related degree in systems analysis and design, related again to technology and all the rest. But you know what? Even though my academic and then later my career developed mostly in the IT, even though that, and I can say a few words about that, not a lot. What I wanted to say is that even as an engineer, I feel really at home in the translation service of the Commission. Because as a technology expert, right, let me tell you this, the translation profession was, is, and will be one of the most dynamic, technologically advanced, and digitalized professions around. This coming from an expert. I have absolutely no doubt about it. So that is why I feel so comfortable here. To cut a long story short, my whole career, half of my career, at least for 20 years, I was in the private sector, moving from different positions. I started off as a computer engineer. I worked from different American multinationals that don't exist anymore. And then I moved into my own businesses as well. And the last position I had before I came over to the Commission, I was the CIO for the national carrier in Cyprus with 3 airlines and other things. So completely immersed in different domains and industries, but from an IT perspective. Of course, at the same time, I always maintained a stand in teaching and lecturing. So I was always had the interest for that as well. But then one day, for different reasons that are irrelevant right now, I got the knock to join the European Commission to set up the IT Directorate-General or Department of the Commission, which at the time it was one directorate in one other, belonging in another department. So I joined in, and I came in with a number of colleagues here. We started off and we developed the IT department in the Commission. But then one day I got the call again to, technology is very important in language services, and why not be interested to join the DGT and translation? So I looked a bit. At the time, I wasn't sure. Would I have an added value as an IT expert and technologist in a translation service? And it only took me, less than a couple of days to be convinced that I really could contribute. And that made me join DGT initially as a Deputy Director-General and now as a Director-General. And like I said in the beginning, I feel at home. I'm really in a service that is fundamentally using technology as an enabler with highly digitalized, skillful people around me moving forward. You call them translators. And of course, I also have another hat that I should not forget. I am also I'm chairman of the board of the agency that we have in Luxembourg, the Translation Center that we have in Luxembourg. That's an agency that serves in translation needs of all agencies and also other institutions, which again, it's a miniature of DGT, but it's equally important. And I see there as well the same trend, the same tendencies in the development of the profession. And I'm very happy that I'm here, and I'm happy that I'm doing it, but I'm also happy with all the outreach activities and also working with you guys as industry experts and the academia with the European Masters of Translation. So that is a little bit of how I ended up here. So and thank you for again inviting me to share a few of my thoughts here.
Thank you very much. This conversation was really enlightening, and again, thank you for the kind words. And I can 100% honestly say that it's not only an honor to work with this expert group and the DGT, but it's also a fantastic learning opportunity and also a great exchange of ideas of information with colleagues and various parts of this community, which I cannot be grateful enough for. Thank you again for joining me on memoQ Talks, and I wish you and the DGT every success in its ambitious future endeavors. And I think that Europeans at large, but especially those in the language profession, have every reason to be very proud of this. And if you allow me to be a bit selfish about this, I very much look forward to being part of this in the future as well. And thank you very much for being with me today. And I'm saying this to the audience, if you want to learn more, we will include many links and sources of information in the description of this video. And if you are interested please come to the Translating Europe Forum next year, or check out one of the Translating Europe workshops that Christos also mentioned during the conversation. These are really fantastic learning opportunities. And with that, I'd like to thank you, Christos, for being with me, and thank the audience for the attention and the time that you spent listening to this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Balázs. Once again, likewise, the feelings are mutual.
Thank you for joining memoQ Talks, where we talked with industry leaders about their experiences and lessons learned to gain new insights about what works best across all areas of localization. Join us next time on memoQ Talks.